Okay, guys, it's around 6:30. I'm sorry, 7:30. 7:30. It's Thursday night. So welcome everybody to Save Coastal Wildlife Volunteer Monitoring Training. So excited. So I'm glad that you could all show up. So my name, if you don't know who I am, my name is Joe Reynolds, and I'm president and director of Save Coastal Wildlife. And Save Coastal Wildlife is a fairly new nonprofit. We've only been around for a couple of years now. And we started, myself and a few other people, several other people started Save Coastal Wildlife because there was really no other organization that was dedicated to educating people about all the wonderful biodiversity along the Jersey Shore. So we not only try to educate people about the biodiversity, but we also, let's get this guy, we also try to, sorry, I'm just trying to get these people inside. So we not only try to educate people, but we also do a number of citizen science projects as well too. So we monitor and install osprey platforms for ospreys, which are a very cool sea hawk. We also do horseshoe crab monitoring as well too. In May and June, we're out there monitoring horseshoe crabs along Raritan Bay and Sandy Hook Bay. People don't realize that there is an abundance of horseshoe crabs along our northern estuarine waters here in Raritan Bay and Sandy Hook Bay. So we're out there counting those horseshoe crabs. We do a whole bunch of stuff. So if you're fairly new to Save Coastal Wildlife, if you just found out about us from the seal monitoring that we do, that's great. But we encourage you to come on out and join us for other things throughout the year. Because we do a whole bunch of fun things to not only educate people, but get people involved, do some hands-on activities. So tonight we're talking about seals. So one of the things that Save Coastal Wildlife does is monitor seals. And we've been monitoring seals for about 10 years now, on and off. We've been doing it, well, I should say that Save Coastal Wildlife started as a watershed organization. We were known as the Bayshore Regional Watershed. And so through the Bayshore Regional Watershed, we would go out every once in a while. We wouldn't go out really on any structured times or dates. We would just go out when we had some free time on weekends primarily and go out there and count seals. And we did that for about 10 years. And then this year, we decided we're going to take it one step further and we're going to, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get this person admitted. There you go. So we would take it one step further and we would try to organize something among volunteers to get them out to count the seals and see if we could find out more about the seal population in Sandy Hook Bay. Over the years, we've counted anywhere from 200, 300 seals in Sandy Hook Bay. And we want to know more about them. We want to know, like, did the seals come back to the same spots every year and different things? And do they come out really only during low tide? Maybe they come out during high tide. And so what's going on with our seal population? There's really nobody monitoring or trying to find out more about the seal population in Sand Hook Bay. So we decided to take that upon ourselves and do something about it and see if we could find out more about them. And not only that, but see if we could do something to help them as well too, because they're under a lot of threats. So people try to get too close to them. There are ship propellers that can cut them up. There are people that harass them. You know, we all know people could do some nasty things, and that's true for our seal population in Sand Hook Bay. So without any further delay, I don't want to talk too much. Let's get to the PowerPoint presentation. And if you have any questions afterwards, or even during the PowerPoint presentation, if there's something you really want to ask me, by all means, pipe in and you could ask me a question. Okay, so I just want to make sure we're all on the same page here, because we're all coming from different places and different backgrounds, and I'm not sure what people know about seals. You've probably have gone to an aquarium at some point in time in your life. You've probably seen a seal or two there. Maybe you've been to California and you saw some seals along the coastline over there. But I just want to make sure we all know what we're looking at and we all are on the same page when it comes to monitoring our seals here in Sand Hook Bay. So we do know that seals are marine mammals, right? They're mammals. They're adapted to living part or all of their water, all their life in water. To keep warm, most of them depend on a thick layer of blubber or fat. They have streamlined bodies to help them swim very fast, and they must come out to the surface to breathe. So that was, they're not fish. Long time ago, people used to think of them as fish, but they are mammals. They do need to come out of the water to breathe, and also to give birth as well, too, for our seal populations. However, to be able to stay under the water for long periods of time, marine mammals can store extra oxygen in their muscles and blood. They have more blood than land mammals in proportion to their body size, and they can direct that blood flow to their vital organs, such as the heart and lungs, and can slow their heartbeat down really slow, so that they use less oxygen in a dive. So seals are pinnipeds, which just is a fancy scientific word, means fin or flipper footed, and refers to marine mammals that have a front and rear flippers. So there are three types of pinnipeds. There are the true seals or earless seals, and that's what we are monitoring in Sandy Hook Bay. We have the true seals, we have the harbor seals, we have the gray seals, and we have the harp seals. These are true seals. If you have been to California, if you have been to the Central Park Zoo, or maybe even the Bronx Zoo, or maybe some sort of aquarium where they were doing seal shows, chances are pretty good you saw sea lions. And sea lions is a different type of pinniped. We don't have any wild sea lions here in Sandy Hook Bay or Raritan Bay. There are some people who think all seals are the same. That is not true. So we are looking for true seals. And then there's another type of pinniped called walruses. When there was an ice age in New Jersey, we had walruses. Thankfully, it's not cold enough where we have walruses anymore. All right, so we're focusing on true seals. Okay, we're not sea lions. So here we have a true seal. This is our friend, the harbor seal. And then here is another friend of ours, but on the West Coast, that's where you can find them. That is a sea lion, or you can find them in the Central Park Zoo performing for the public there. All right, so why do we monitor seals? Why do we go out? It's so cold. Why don't we just stay home with hot chocolate? Why do we go out and monitor seals? Let me just get these people emitted here. So why do we monitor seals? Oops. All right, so seals are found around the Jersey Shore. They're not endangered species. So the seals that you're seeing here, the harp seals, the harbor seals, and the gray seals, thankfully, they're not endangered species. Their population is doing really, really well. But there are species, endangered species of seals around the world. So just very quickly, let me just mention them. There is the Samara ring seal, probably mispronouncing it, of Finland. There's only about 300 seals of the subspecies that are in Lake Samara, the largest lake in the country, where the animals have been cut off from the ocean since the last ice age. So there's only about 300 of them left. They're not doing all that well. There is, I'm probably really mispronouncing this, the Loxodilus marinus harbor seal. Nobody knows exactly how many exist. Estimates range from as few as 50 to maybe as much as 600, all of which live in freshwater lakes and rivers in Quebec, where they have been cut off from the ocean for a very long period of time. And then there's the endangered Mediterranean monk seal that lives in and around the sea from which they get their name. It's long a victim of commercial hunting and persecution by fishermen. These seals also lost much of their former habitat to coastal development and suffered from the effects of both pollution and ocean traffic. Today, there's anywhere from about 600 to maybe as low as 350. It's one of the most endangered marine mammals in the world, is the Mediterranean monk seal. And then also their cousin is the Hawaiian monk seal. And keep in mind, these are seals that, when you think of seals, you think of cold water. These guys are living in warm water. And so when you have warm water, there's going to be more people around. When you have more people, you're going to have impacts to wildlife. And that's certainly true with our marine mammals. And so the Hawaiian monk seal is critically endangered. There's only about maybe 1,500 of these animals left on the Hawaiian Islands. And so intense hunting, pollution, development of the coast has really impacted these guys. And then the Caribbean monk seal, again, another warm water seal, this guy's probably gone. In our lifetime, we will never get to see a Caribbean monk seal. We haven't seen one in over 50 years. Chances are pretty good it is extinct. It's remarkable how the Caribbean monk seal population, which likely numbered over 200,000, maybe even more than 350,000 among 13 major colonies became extinct and so rare from European colonization. They were vulnerable to their hauling out behavior. Seals like to haul out, they like to rest, they like to digest their food. This is true of the Caribbean monk seal. They were hunted for their source of oil by European colonizers and for food and different things. And the species became rare in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Remaining, the seal colonies were targeted by expeditions to obtain dead specimens for scientific study and for the zoos and for aquariums. So why do we monitor seals? Why do we monitor seals? Getting back to that question, because it is very easy. It's very easy for an animal to become threatened or endangered. So it doesn't take long for an animal to become threatened or endangered. An animal become threatened or endangered within 3, 4, 5 years, 6 years, and then it takes decades for that animal to come back off the threatened and endangered list. So yeah, our population of seals are doing really well, but it doesn't take much for these seal populations to become endangered or threatened or locally threatened or endangered. So destruction of habitat. Why would any species become endangered or threatened? The number one reason is destruction of habitat. The loss of their habitat for feeding or for breeding. Around here in New Jersey, it's primarily for feeding for our seals. There are no seals that you see in New Jersey that breed here or give birth. They all come here just to feed. Pollution also impacts their lives. There's lots of plastic. My goodness, there's so much plastic out there. They're ingesting that. That could have a problem. Oil spills, ghost fishing, water pollution, hunting as well too. Many marine mammals. Some people continue to hunt them as well too for their meat and fur, especially globally. And then, believe it or not, I mean, when I was a kid, I never got to see seals. So I'm 50, I think I'm 52 now, somewhere around there, early 50s. I never got to see seals when I was a kid growing up along the Jersey Shore. It's only very recently I got to see seals. But believe it or not, seals have been around New York Harbor and along the Jersey Shore for a long time. They just disappeared for a while because of all the pollution and all the devastating things we were doing to their habitat. So Robbins Reef, if you know anything about New York Harbor, there is a lighthouse over there by Jersey City and Hoboken in that area. It's called Robbins Reef Lighthouse. It is once a home for seals. So originally named Robbins Reef by early Dutch settlers in New York because it was a gathering place for seals during low tide. Even back then, they used to come out during low tide, haul out, sun themselves, digest their food. The lighthouse stands on a reef located off Staten Island North Shore. In Dutch, rob or robin means seal. So unfortunately, the seals do not last long in the harbor due to hunting. The first commercial hunting of seals by Europeans is said to have occurred in 1515 with a cargo of fur seal skins from South America that was sent to Spain for sale in the markets of Seville. Europeans quickly learned that a single seal can yield valuable fur, or if a seal had no fur, then oil can be obtained from its fat and leather from its hide. Seals have been used for their pelts, their flesh, their fat, which is often used as lamp fuel, lubricants, cooking oil, soap, liquid base for red paint, processing materials such as leather and jute. So lots of different things. It's suffice to say that seals were devastated because of hunting. When the overhunting of whales resulted in greatly decreased populations in North America, many whalers began supplementing their incomes by hunting seals. Commercial exploitation of walruses and seals produced significant quantities of oil and leather. Later in the 1900s, the development of steamships, spotter planes, and other technological advances soon decimated worldwide sea populations. And the animals were hunted all over the East Coast in Massachusetts during the 1950s, not that long ago. In 1960s, not that long ago, the government even paid a bounty of $5 for each seal head to help control seal populations, as people mistakenly thought seals were eating too much fish. You're going to find that today. Even today, there are people, commercial fishermen, who believe that seals, gray seals, harbor seals eat too much fish, and they're taking their fish, and that seal populations should be hunted today to control them so they're not eating that much fish. I should say, there is absolutely no proof that seals are decimating fish populations. Because let's face it, I mean, how many seals are out there? How many seals are in New Jersey or Massachusetts, or let's just say along the East Coast of the United States? 100,000, 300,000, 500,000? Let's say there's 500,000. How many people live along the East Coast of the United States? Millions. So, who's really having an impact on the environment? Is it the people or is it the animals? We often try to blame animals for the problems that we suffer because they can't talk or they don't pay taxes, but it's not the seals that are devastating the fish populations. So by the 1950s, 1960s, 1970s, and 1980s, seal populations were extremely low. It was difficult to spot a seal along the Jersey Shore or the coastline of New York. Again, I never really got to see one until just recently. Fortunately, in the 1960s and 1970s, the majority of people were starting to care about the environment and to protect wildlife. This was great. People started to care about the environment all of a sudden in the 1960s and 1970s. Certain rules and regulations were passed. A series of federal laws were put in place in the 1970s to protect wildlife, including marine mammals and seals. The Clean Water Act was put in place in 1972, amended again in 1977. The Endangered Species Act was created in 1973. The Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, known as CITES, was entered in force in 1975. So the 1970s was a great decade for the environment, including wildlife. A number of laws were put in place to clean up the waters, to protect wildlife. And these laws is what has brought back our wildlife, not just seals, but dolphins, whales, birds. Not to say that all wildlife are doing fabulous now. There's still lots of pressure. There's still lots of problems. But they're doing, in some cases, on seals, they're doing much better than they were back in the 1970s and 1960s. The most important law when it comes to marine mammals is the Marine Mammal Protection Act of 1972. Signed by Richard Nixon in 1972, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has jurisdiction over sea otters and polar bears and manatees and walruses, but it's NOAA that has jurisdiction all over all other marine mammals, including the ones that we're monitoring is seals. And these are the guys that enforce the Marine Mammal Protection Act. So if you see somebody harassing a seal, if you see somebody doing something nasty to a whale or to a dolphin, you should call your local police. But sometimes, the police, they're not trained on wildlife matters. They don't know necessarily everything about wildlife. So, what's one thing we need to work on in the future is to train our local law enforcement on wildlife matters. But, call them if they don't know exactly what to do. Call NOAA. They have an enforcement division that will come out and protect those animals. So improving water quality conditions, increasing fish populations, and protection of marine mammals were able to expand their numbers. And now they're all over the place. And so I could see them all over New York Harbor. They're by the Verrazano Bridge. They're by the George Washington Bridge. They're on Long Island. I mean, they're just popping up all over the place. They're on ice floes. They're on beaches. They're on piers. Here's your Verrazano Bridge, and there's a little seal looking right at me right over there in New York Harbor. That's a harbor seal. And then what we're most concerned with is these seal haul out sites. So throughout the week, throughout the day, seals potentially, they're not all the time, come out of the water in groups to rest, digest their food, to thermoregulate their bodies, do different things. And they tend to come out in large groups to do this. We call them haul out sites, seal haul out sites. So these haul out sites are really, really important. Harbor seals and other species of seals need to come out of the water almost daily to rest and regulate their body temperature, digest their food, particularly important since harbor seals and most seals don't chew their food. They just swallow it. They take big chunks and they swallow it. So that's why they need to come out of the water to digest their food. They need to rest and relax and digest their food. Without these safe places to haul out, they could get sick. they could get exhausted, they could get stressed out, and it could be a real problem for them. So these haul out sites are really, really important. And so in addition, quite a few seals each winter are pregnant females that will give birth next spring. They too are seeking safe places to rest and feed before returning up north to have their pups. Just about every female seal that we see, adult female seal that we see, chances are pretty good it's pregnant. It takes a while. It takes them about 10 months for them for the gestation period and for them to give birth. So they get pregnant over the summer and then they give birth in the springtime. And so in the wintertime, they're pregnant. And so anytime you see an adult female, 90, 95, maybe even up to 98, 99% chance that that adult female is pregnant. So there's only 3 haul out sites in all of New York Harbor and the Jersey Shore. There's only 3 that we know about, 3 that we're I don't think there's any more, but you never know. But we know of 3 in New York Harbor and the Jersey Shore. So Swinburne Island and Hoffman Island are 2 man-made, long abandoned pieces of land off of Staten Island and the Verrazano Bridge. And so right over here is Swinburne and Hoffman Islands, and that's a haul out site. And then Skeleton Island is in Sandy Hook Bay. And all these are protected, both Swinburne, Hoffman, and Skeleton Island are protected by the National Park Service. They're owned and operated by the National Park Service. Same people that help to manage Sandy Hook are the same people that help to monitor Swinburne and Hoffman Islands. So they're all 3 are protected, which is a good thing. And then there's another site down by Tuckerton, Great Bay. Seals haul out over there as well too. Now, Stockton University, their faculty and students have been monitoring that site near Tuckerton for a long time now. I mean, probably 10 years or more. They've been monitoring that site. And then various organizations such as New York City Audubon and Gotham Whale at times will go out and monitor the seals at Hoffman and Swinburne Island in New York Harbor. But there has been no known organization that has been monitoring seals in Sandy Hook Bay. So even though the seals have been coming out of the water for 10 years or more, no known organization has come out to monitor them on a regular basis, count them, see how they're doing or whatnot. So this is why we decided, you know what, we're going to do it. So the Bayshore Regional Watershed Council, which was the organization that became Save Coastal Wildlife nonprofit, we're going out and we monitor the seals throughout the winter and early spring to identify and count seals and look for any threats. So it's Sandy Hook Bay. That's where the seals come out. That's the haul out site right over here. I don't know if you could see where my arrow is, but right over here, this is Skeleton Island. And that's where the seals come out. That's what we're looking for. There's another site as well too. There's a couple other sites, which we'll talk about in a minute. Most of the seals that we see, well over 90% of the seals that we see out there are harbor seals or common seals. That's the most common seal that we see are harbor seals. That might be changing a little bit, which we'll talk about in a minute or two. So where are these harbor seals coming from? So they're coming from up north. They hang out, they give birth up in Maine and Nova Scotia. And then they come down here for the winter time. They like to spread out. So once the breeding season is done, once they've got a new coat of fur, they like to spread out, look for food, and just have some fun and frolic around, like any marine mammal or any mammal. So harbors, how can you tell what a harbor seal is? So harbor seals have small heads. We call them dog faces. It looks almost when a harbor seal's head's coming out of the water, it looks like your dog is looking at you. And then they have nostrils that are V-shaped, right? So look for a small dog-like head with a V-shaped nostrils. Chances are pretty good that is going to be a harbor seal. It could be a harp seal. Sometimes it's a little hard to tell the difference, but harp seals are rare. Harbor seals are much more common. And when they're hauled out on the beach, they make this banana pose. So there are very few seals that do that around here. It's really only harbor seals that tend to do it on a regular basis. They love to do it. They like to stretch. So the harbor seals like a good stretch. And one way they stretch is making this banana pose. So if you see seals making this banana pose, chances are pretty good it is a harbor seal. And then the next most common seal, but when I say the next most common seal, there's not that many. It's the gray seals. Now, I should point out the gray seal population is slightly increasing here in New Jersey. So gray seals tend to hang out. The population of gray seals that we see here tend to give birth up in Massachusetts, Cape Cod, that area. That population is increasing. So we think that as that population is increasing during the winter time, there are seals that are coming down here and hanging out along Long Island and the Jersey Shore. So we're seeing more gray seals. The gray seal is the largest seal inhabiting the Western Atlantic. Males are up to 8 feet, sometimes even up to 10 feet. So keep in mind, the harbor seals tend to be like 4, 5, 6 feet. And then the gray seals are much larger, and they weigh up to 800 pounds. So that's how you can tell the difference. Now, that's between adults. Juveniles tend to be a little difficult, but by and large, what you want to look for is this. They have this sort of weird horse-like face. So I mentioned the harbor seals have a dog-like face. The gray seals have a horse-like face. So here's a picture of a juvenile gray seal. It almost blends in with the harbor seals that surround it. This is a picture we took last year, monitoring the seals. And in the background is all harbor seals. And then we noticed there was this gray seal over here. It's a juvenile gray seal. And so shape and size, it looks like a harbor seal, but what caught our attention, and actually it wasn't me, it was somebody with us, what caught our attention was the nose. It has a long nose. It has a horse-like nose. And so look for that long nose. That's going to be a gray seal. There is no other seal in New Jersey that has a long nose other than the gray seal. So look for that. I know it's hard. I know it's hard. You're thinking, oh my goodness gracious, how can I tell these seals apart? If you can take pictures, that's the easiest way to get to know these seals. But keep in mind, again, the most common seal are harbor seals. So if you think you see all harbor seals, you're not all that wrong. And then the next most common is harp seals, but we only see them very rarely, only a couple throughout the winter time. And they don't haul out in groups. They tend to be very solitary. Harp seals come all the way from the Arctic. They're a true Arctic seal. And so they travel far to get here to New Jersey. They're following the fish populations. They're feeding on fish. And as they're following the fish from the Arctic down over here, it's a long journey. And they often come out on the beach. They're very tired. They often spend a day or 2 or 3 on the beach resting. And the problem is people will see a harp seal, think it's sick because it's on the beach, and then, call up. And one time, I'm not going to mention the town, but one time, somebody saw a harp seal on the beach, called the police. And again, the police, they don't know that much about wildlife, unfortunately. And so they thought the seal was, I don't know, tired or something. So they picked it up and threw it in the water. Don't do that. Don't ever pick up wildlife. Don't do that. So harp seals need to rest, as all seals do. They come out of the water really only to rest. That's not to say that seals aren't sick when they come out. Sometimes they are, but more often than not, they're just tired and they need to rest and relax. And that's true a lot for our harp seals. So if you see a harp seal, if you see a seal on the beach, let it rest and relax. If you think it's sick, call them marine mammal protection. Call them marine mammal stranding service, which I'll talk about more in a minute. Most of the harp seals we see are juvenile harp seals. They look like this. It looks almost like a harbor seal, but they have all these spots on them, on their coats. So that's what makes them a little easier to identify. This is what an adult looks like. And the adults, you could automatically tell this is an adult harp seal. It has the black face. On the back, it has a harp-shaped marking where it gets its name harp seal. And again, these harp seals are usually solitary. Even the adults, when they come down here from the Arctic, they don't haul out with harbor seals or gray seals. They tend to be very solitary. So chances are pretty good if you see a solitary seal on the beach, it could be a harp seal, HARP, harp seal. So again, we've been studying this for a while now, since 2009. The seal population has been growing since 2009. And again, most 95% of the seals that we have been counting over the years have been harbor seals. So what does a volunteer do to monitor seals? What are we asking you to do to go out and count these seals? So one thing we need to do is pick a date to go out. So we had a good turnout of people during our first training session, and they were all excited, and they took a lot of the dates. So there's not many dates left. However, what I suggest to do is to go on the calendar. Now, first of all, what I need to, if I haven't bored you, if you're still interested in being a volunteer, you're still excited after the long talk I just gave. If you're still excited, what I need to do is please send me an email. Let me know you still want to be a volunteer. I'm going to put you onto our Google Classroom or Google Docs, and you can look over the calendar and you can see what dates are left, and check it regularly, because people's lives change and sometimes people will take dates off. They can't do it anymore. But if you don't find any dates that you're able to go, the next time you go to Sandy Hook, just see if there's any seals. We're doing a study right now to see if there's a correlation or connection between the moon and the tides and when the seals come out to haul out. We think that most of the time seals come out to haul out during low tides. And we want to see if there's a connection between the full moon and new moon stages and when seals haul out. That's our hypothesis, that we think that the moon and the tides have a direct influence on seals when they come out to haul out and rest and relax. So we're testing that theory this year. But they might come out other times. They might come out at high tide, or they might come out when the tides are not so high. So the next time you're at Sandy Hook, bring a data sheet, which we'll go over in a minute. Bring a data sheet, and if you see any seals, just count them, identify them, and then give me the data sheet. You don't have to necessarily go on our volunteer timesheet. Just the next time you're at Sandy Hook this winter or early spring, if you see any seals, if you see a solitary seal on the beach, try to identify it. Let us know. That's important as well too. We want to see how many harp seals are out there. So if you see any seals around Sandy Hook Bay or on the ocean side of Sandy Hook, or even, if you're in Long Branch or if you're in Monmouth Beach, you see a seal, let us know. It's all important. So volunteers must be able to use binoculars. So it's really helpful to use binoculars because we don't want you getting close to wildlife, any wildlife. It doesn't make a difference what it is. It's never good to get close to wildlife. Always stay far away, because the closer you get to wildlife, for one thing, it freaks the animals out. They don't like it. They really don't like people, and rightly so, because we've been trying to hunt these animals for a long period of time. So stay far away, and use a pair of binoculars. We always encourage people to invest in a good pair of binoculars. You can get a Nikon pair of binoculars for a couple $100, and they do really well. And so get a pair of binoculars, or if you really want to, ask your family to invest in a nice Christmas gift for you, you can get a spotting scope, which is slightly more money, but they're really, really nice. But get something to help you see these animals, because we want you to stay far away. So volunteers must be able to hike a distance anywhere from 1 to 2 miles. This is to monitor them off of Skeleton Island and off the Rock Islands, which we'll talk about in a minute. They must be able to tolerate sun, wind, fog. It's cold. It's going to be cold. You got to tolerate cold. If you don't like cold, you're really not going to like monitoring seals, because it's cold. It's wintertime. And then you have to have a car to get there, or some sort of transportation, some friend or family member to take you to these places. So we always begin at Mount Mitchell. So Mount Mitchell is a small county park up in Atlantic Highlands, in back of the CVS Plaza or the East Point Plaza as it's locally known here, the CVS Plaza, or the old CVS Plaza, East Point Plaza. So there's a park over there, Mount Mitchell. It just gives us a nice overview of Swinburne, or it gives us a nice overview of Skeleton Island over here, and also Rock Island. So sometimes if you just go to Sandy Hook and you go out and you see the seals, by the time you get to the point where we could really count them, sometimes people with dogs get there before you and scare the seals away. Sometimes there are people, windsurfers that are out there and scare the seals away. So by the time you get out there, by the time you've hiked a mile to get out there, sometimes the seals are gone and you never got a chance to count them. And that's really depressing. So we always start at Mount Mitchell, and first of all, to see if the seals are there, and then try to do a rough count on Rock Island and on Skeleton Island. And by the way, when I say Skeleton Hill Island, it sounds very weird. Skeleton Hill Island. Why is it called Skeleton Hill Island? Well, I don't exactly know. I'm not an historian, but the park historian at Sandy Hook told me that back in the 1800s, they would bury bodies of people that had infectious diseases.
Yep. Yep.
I don't know if that's true.
Yes.
I've been on that island, never found any bones. So I don't know, but it makes a nice ghost story and it's fun to say. So, all right. So we want you to count and identify seals at 3 sites along Sandy Hook Bay, all located at Gateway National Recreation Area. So we want you to do over here in Sperma City Cove. We want you to park at parking lot C. We want you to walk onto the bay side, walk a mile onto this little peninsula. And then on the southern tip of Skeleton Hill Island is where the seals like to haul out. So just over Thanksgiving weekend, we saw seals there. There were seals there. I counted about 26 harbor seals. And then somebody the day before I was there saw one adult gray seal as well too. I don't know if Kim Garrison is with us tonight, but she took some fabulous pictures of a gray seal, which I'll share in a minute. But she saw an adult gray seal there. So the gray seals are out. I know I saw some gray seals swimming on the ocean side. So the gray seals are around. So we want you to go to over here, count the seals on Skeleton Hill Island. And then also there's a little rock island just to the northeast of Skeleton Island. Sometimes there's seals that like to haul out over there. And then there's another site over at Fort Hancock. They like to come out on the rocks at Fort Hancock as well. So this is an old topo map. This peninsula here is now connected to the mainland. So you can walk out here, walk all the way out to the edge. It's nice on low tide, walk out and then count the seals at the southern tip of Skeleton Island over here. And then Rock Island's located over here. So again, this is why we encourage you to get binoculars, because you really only be able to count these seals with binoculars, or see these seals even in some cases with binoculars. Here's Rock Island. This is what it looks like. This is what it looks like without seals. And this is what it looks like with seals. And again, those seals are far away. So here's our volunteers, and the seals are all the way out there. There's Rock Island. Again, it's far out. You need a pair of binoculars. So, and then the seals are way out there. So please, if you wanna participate, please invest in a good pair of binoculars. And then across the headquarters from buildings at Fort Hancock, there is a bunch of rocks that are exposed during low tide over by the old sewage treatment plant. There's a bunch of rocks over there. Seals sometimes come out, haul out over there, and sun and rest themselves. So those are the 3 sites. 2 can be found. You can find 2 of them by parking your car at parking lot C, and then walking on the bay side, walking a mile northward, and then looking at Skeleton Island and Rock Island. Then you get back in your car, go up to Fort Hancock, and over here between buildings 7 and 6 on Officers Row, there's a seal haul out location. And again, they're exposed rocks during low tide. I haven't seen any on there yet. Usually as the population grows during the wintertime, seals will start using this spot. Usually the first location they go to is Skeleton Island. Then they go to either Rock Island or to the Fort Hancock. March is the peak of seal season. So that's when most seals are here is in, I'm sorry, not March, February or early March is the peak of seal season here along the Jersey Shore. That's when most seals are here. And then by March or April, by the end of March or April, usually by mid-April, most are gone. Not all. Sometimes you might find some juveniles around, some juvenile gray seals or harp seals or harbor seals, but most of the adults are gone by Earth Day. So if possible, when visiting a hall outside, take photographs of individual seals. We like to see if we can identify these seals, see if they're coming back to the same locations. We want to see if they come back every year to the same location. So for example, when we first started this a long time ago, I found this one seal with markings on it. Back in 2011, it was markings cut up from a propeller. Unfortunately, these seals get, I should say the boats maybe get too close to the seals, or the seals get too close to the boats. They get ripped up by the propellers of boats. Sometimes large tankers, sometimes fishing boats or recreational boats. They'll get ripped up and bloodied and scarred from boats. I don't like it, but one way it helps us to identify these seals, because the year later on February 4th, I saw the exact same seal. So that's how I know that in some cases, these seals are coming back to the same locations to rest and relax and to feed. We used to call this seal scarbelly seal for the scars on its belly, but I haven't seen it in a long period of time, so I don't know what happened to the seal. Recently, we found out that maybe you could identify seals on markings by their ear. These seals are earless. They don't have any ear flaps. They have a hole by their eye where their ear is located. And to the bottom of that are markings that perhaps you can identify. It's not easy to do. You have to have a good camera to take close-up pictures sometimes to see this. But we're trying to do that. We're trying to take multiple pictures of a seal to see if we can identify these seals, the markings or whatever, to see if these seals are coming back to the same locations. There are injuries to seals. Unfortunately, as I mentioned before, these seals get beat up by fishing gear, by boats. They get cut up. And so sometimes we can identify these seals by their, just by the injuries to them. Here's what Kim Garrison, who lives around the area, last week, she took a picture of an adult female gray seal. Chances are pretty good. Again, when you see an adult female seal this time of year, it's going to be pregnant. So chances are pretty good. This is a pregnant female gray seal. And you could see how much bigger it is compared to the harbor seals in the background. This is, an 8-foot adult gray seal. The males tend to be darker in gray seal with gray seals, and the females tend to be lighter. So that's how we can tell this is a female gray seal. It's hard to tell the sexes on harbor seals. It's easier to tell the sexes on gray seals. But again, you can see it has that long nose. Look for that long nose. It's a big seal. And if you got really close to it, I used to do surveys on seals up in Cape Cod, and I was able to get close to the seals with a boat. If you got close to the seal, it smells really bad too. And then over here, Kim found another seal. She pointed this out to me. It's been cut up probably by propellers, but it's a marking right over here. So if I see this seal again, if I take a picture and see the seal again, it's evidence that probably these seals are coming back to the same locations. So if you go out and you're taking pictures of seals, or if you're looking for seal markings on seals, look for this seal. This is a harbor seal with a gash on its chest. And if you see that, that's the one that we saw around Thanksgiving. All right, so unfortunately, these seals are just getting injured. There's so many, things that are doing damage to our seal populations. One of the most notable types of impacts of marine debris is injury to wildlife is derelict nets, ropes, line, hooks, other fishing gear. If you remember back when I was showing this picture up here in the left-hand corner, you could see there's an eye injury on this seal. Chances are pretty good it got hooked up in a fish hook. So these seals are just getting beat up by fishing gear, fishing boats, tankers, whatever. They're really doing damage to our seal population. So we want you to go out. We want you to monitor the seals. We don't want you just to count the seals. We want you to see if there's any injuries to the seals. Please take a note of that. That's really important, because if these seals really are getting beat up on a regular basis, we should tell NOAA that. We should tell the Fisheries Administration with NOAA that, so maybe they can do something to protect our seals. But we need data, we need evidence. I just can't go to them and tell them, hey, I'm seeing seals that are cut up. I need evidence to do that. And so we're asking you guys to go out, count the seals. If you can, take a picture of any seals that you see with any injuries. There are disturbances of seals too, from kayakers that are getting too close, dogs that are barking and getting too close, windsurfers that are getting too close. If you see any evidence of people getting too close to seals, whether they're in a kayak, a windsurfer, or just dogs, or any type of harassment, please note that, but also call the police, call the rangers, let them know. If you see a seal that is really bloody and sick, call the Marine Mammal Stranding Center. Always stay away from wildlife. Always stay at least 150 feet away, or 50 yards, which is about half the size of a football field. Again, get a good pair of binoculars. Never attempt to touch or handle any seals. Seals carry diseases. So if they bite you or if they lick you, it's not a good thing. Don't ever try to touch any wildlife, because they do carry diseases in their mouths. And if they do bite you, it could be very, very serious. Make sure small children are kept away. And if you can, if possible, not easy with small children, but try to be quiet when you go out and see the seals. You don't want to really scream and yell. I know it's very exciting seeing seals or seeing any marine mammal, but you want to try to be quiet, because again, these seals are very sensitive to sounds and colors, noises, people getting close or what have you. So try to keep quiet. If you can, wear muted clothes. You might have like a bright orange jacket you got for Christmas, a winter jacket. If you can, you might want to keep that for something else, skiing or something, and just wear something darker in color, if possible. If you see a seal that appears injured, again, if you see a seal that looks really bad, it's in bad shape, it looks sick, normally you could tell when a seal is sick, but just, like you're looking at a person. When you see a person sick, you could just tell right away that person is sick. The same is true for seals. You could tell right away. It's very sluggish. It's very tired. It looks tired. It's not moving a lot. If you see an animal that is sick, if you see a seal that is sick, or if you see a seal that's entangled, or if it's really bloody, it's bleeding, please call the Marine Mammal Stranding Center. Don't call me. Call the Marine Mammal Stranding Center. Number is 609-266-0538. Please call them. They are the only organization in New Jersey that is legally able to handle marine mammals, and sick or entangled marine mammals. If you're in New York, call the Riverhead Foundation, but in New Jersey, please call the Marine Mammal Stranding Center. Always be safe. Never do anything stupid. Never do anything that you feel uncomfortable doing. Always think safety first. Especially true with COVID. We want people to stay healthy and happy. So, wear a mask, especially if you're with groups of people, or, if you think there's groups of people, chances are pretty good. If there's seals out there, there will be lots of people looking at those seals. So bring a face mask. Try to stay 6 feet apart as much as possible. Always avoid any risk or danger. If you think, if you see something dangerous, don't go near it. Stay safe. We want people to be safe. I don't want anybody getting hurt or sick. Please don't do anything uncomfortable or unsafe. All right, so one more thing. Please fill out the volunteer waiver form. So on our website, we have a volunteer waiver form. Please fill that out. You can go to our seal monitoring page. You could click on the volunteer waiver form there, fill that out. We need you to fill that out before you're an actual volunteer with Save Coastal Wildlife. We're a nonprofit now, so we have a lawyer. The lawyer's making us do this. So please fill out the volunteer waiver form. You can't be a volunteer unless you fill out the waiver form. Dress for the weather. Again, it's going to be cold. You might live in Manalapan or New Brunswick, or you might be coming from far inland, where maybe it's warmer and or less windy. And then you come to the coast and it's windy because it's on the beach and it's open and it's colder. So make sure you bring warm clothes. Wear layers. Have an extra jacket. Wear boots because when you're going on the beach, you're going to be walking in muddy conditions. So wear boots. Don't forget to bring your binoculars. I always have a pair of binoculars in my car. Always be safe. Think safety first. Before you go, let's go over the data sheet. So let me just stop this and then, I don't know, can you guys see this? Can you see our SEAL monitoring volunteer sheet? Maybe not see our volunteer monitoring sheet? You don't see it?
No, I don't see it.
All right, let me see if I can do this then. Hold on. So I want to. I want to end that. I want to. You see it now?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So this is the data sheet. So if you are interested, again, if maybe I totally bored you and now you hate SEALs. So, you know, hopefully not. Hopefully not. If you're interested in being a volunteer and going out and monitoring SEALs, please let me know. And I will put you on the sheet for a volunteer monitoring. And I will send you the information that you need to be a volunteer with Safe Coastal Wildlife to go out and to count our SEALs. So you will get this data sheet. And so this is what we need you to fill out. You are the observer. So please put in your name. Please put in the date that you see these SEALs or the date that you go out. Please put out the start time and the end time, the weather. We like to know the weather because I think the SEALs only come out when it's clear or partly cloudy. I don't even think they come out when it's cloudy. And I don't think they come out all that much when it's raining or drizzling or sleeting and snowing, but I'm not sure. I don't know. So we want you to fill that out. If it's snowing really heavily, don't go out. You know, only again, do things safe. So if it's snowing, don't go out. Don't think, oh my God, I have to go out and count the SEALs. No, if it's snowing really hard, or even if it's raining really hard, be safe. We can count the SEALs another day. But if you happen to be at Sandy Hook when it is raining or sleeting or snowing or light snow or something, and you see the SEALs, let us know. What's the wind? Is it calm, light, steady breeze? I don't think the SEALs come out when it's really, really windy. I don't think when it's really strong winds, I don't think the SEALs come out. I think they like to come out when it's calm and sunny because it helps to warm up their bodies more. If you know what the wind direction is it northeast? Is it coming from the south? Is it coming from the north? It's coming from the east. If you know the wind direction, please put that in. If you know the air temperature, please put that in. The time of low tide, if you know the tides, please put that in. If you don't, if you just give me the date, which is the most important thing, I could probably find out the tides then. And then number of species. So harbor seals, gray seals, harp seals, are there any other species? Chances are pretty good there's no other species of seal that you'll see. There is very rarely, there is a hooded seal. That has only been seen, I think, once in 20 years. But so you're only going to see, I think, harbor seals, gray seals, and harp seals. How many did you see at Skeleton Island? How many did you see at Rock Island, Fort Hancock, or another site? Maybe you saw some in the water on the ocean side. Maybe you saw one on the beach. Let us know. That's really important. Did you see any injuries on these seals? Chances are pretty good. Most of them, if you see any injuries, it's from boat propeller cuts. They really do get damaged a lot from boat propellers. Sometimes they get bitten by sharks. Sometimes they get entangled. Eye injuries from fish hooks. Sometimes some minor wounds and cuts. Sometimes you're going to see a seal that just is really sick. It doesn't have any movement. right? We want to know that. But if you do see something, please call the Marine Mammals Training Center. So seriously injured, entangled, or sick seals need to be reported to the New Jersey Marine Mammals Training Center at 609-266-0538. And then, do you see any human disturbances? Again, at Skeleton Island, Rock Island, Fort Hancock, or another site on the ocean side, on the beach, or somewhere where there are loud people and kids screaming and yelling and, really disturbing the seals, where they're barking dogs all over the place, windsurfers getting too close, motorboats getting too close, non-motorized boats like canoes and kayaks getting too close, where there are too many people. Sometimes there are organizations that give tours of the seals, that come out to Sandy Hook and give tours where there's like 50 people coming out looking at the seals. It's too many people. They're going to get scared, or there are other disturbances. So the harassment of seals by people is a violation of the Marine Mammal Protection Act, which we talked about before. So, if you see people harassing seals, the worst is one time I saw somebody trying to feed the seals. One time I saw somebody try to take a selfie with the seals. Never good. So if you see these stupid things, call the rangers, call the police. If they don't respond, call NOAA Fisheries Law Enforcement, which is an 800 number, 1-800-853-1964. And then if you have anything else to add, any notes, any sort of special or unique things to say or state, let us know under this condition. So that's the data sheet. We want you to not only count the seals, identify the seals, count the seals, but if you see any injuries and if you see any harassment, let us know. And that's really important because, again, if we see seals with lots of injuries or lots of harassment, we can go to NOAA and we could tell them, hey, we need more protection for our seals. And here's the data. Here's the data to prove it, that these seals need more protection. So you're helping us greatly by observing these seals and seeing how they're doing and making sure they're happy and healthy. Because that's really all we want to do. We love the sight of seals. Who doesn't love the sight of a seal? We all love that. We want to make sure the seals are happy and healthy. They come back every winter because we don't want it to happen in San Francisco Bay. What happened to the harbor seals in San Francisco Bay is people got too close. There was too much harassment going on and the seals just left. And they never came back. The harbor seals just left in San Francisco Bay and they never came back. And they just went to other places. We don't want that to happen in Sandy Hook Bay. We want the seals to come back every winter so people can enjoy them. But we want people to be safe. We want people to be smart when they see that. So we want to observe not only the seals, but the people as well. All right, so I have been talking for about an hour. Very long period of time. I'm going to stop now and ask if anybody has any questions. But last thing I will say is, if you are interested, please send me an email, let me know, and I will put you on the list. And you could be an official volunteer for Save Coastal Wildlife to monitor our seals. If you are not interested, no big deal. Please join us for something else. We are getting ready for horseshoe crab season pretty soon. We'll be getting ready for osprey platform season pretty soon as well too, to monitor ospreys. We do a whole bunch of stuff. So if seals isn't your thing, please come back and help us with something else at Save Coastal Wildlife. We'd love to have you. We'd love to have you on board. Okay, I'm going to stop. Anybody have any questions, comments, suggestions, criticisms? Take it all right now.
Yeah, Joe, what power binoculars should we have? I have several sets, but I don't know if I've got the right.
10 by 50.
Yeah, 10 by 50 is probably a little bit too high. So we've used 10 by 50 before, but 10 by 50 tends to shake a little bit. So it's hard sometimes to get a good, I would say 8. Get the next one down? Was it 8?
Like
8 by 42?
8 by 42. Yeah, I would get that one. That seems to work really, really well.
Okay. And is this going to be available that we could look at it again? The presentation?
Yeah, so I think, unless I totally messed up, it should be recording.
Yeah.
And so once I get a copy of it, I will email it out to everybody so you can look it over. Yeah. Any
Okay.
other questions? Y'all good?
Thank you.
What's the email we should be using?
Oh, okay. Yeah, good. Thank you. So it's the letter J for Joe, REY Nolds, J Reynolds, like the rap, Reynolds at savecoastalwildlife.org. All right. I just want to shout out to Abby. I see Abby's here. Abby has been a longtime member of Save Coastal Wildlife. She does a lot of fabulous work. So I want to thank Abby for showing up tonight. And then I see some familiar faces. I see Marilyn. I see Kelly. And I see a whole bunch of new faces. So welcome, everybody. Welcome aboard. Happy that you're here. And oh, there's Sarah Stewart. Sarah, hey. And we're happy that you're here. We're happy that you're helping out. So thanks, guys. Any other questions?
Oh, I guess one a silly one, but I guess you're gonna send us the a PDF file on the data sheet.
Yeah, so once you send me an email that let me know that you're interested, I will send out that information to you. Give me a couple of days. I'll probably work on it this weekend, and then get it to you by Sunday or Monday or Tuesday. So I'll get that out to you. But let me know you're interested, and I will get that to you.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you very much for spending some time with me tonight on a Thursday night. Appreciate it.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You still there, Joe?
Yeah, right here. What's going on?
Yeah. No, I just was gonna say, you don't see them at night often, but I have seen them at night when I've been I fish out on Sandy Hook quite a bit, and I'm from Red Bank to Long Branch, and so I mean I'd be walking out to the tip of the hook pretty much every night. I mean in the fall, and I've seen them hauled out at night, and
Okay.
I didn't realize that. I guess they don't do that often, do they?
So it's our understanding, and again, we're not sure, we're not 100% sure, but our theory is, our understanding is that during the nighttime, that's when they forage for food. That's when they're out in the bay and the ocean foraging for food. And then during the daytime, they come out and haul out and rest and relax and digest their food. Are you still there? Did I lose you?